Gord, what do you want to talk about today? I've probably asked all my guests this question, but I like to know, what's your first musical memory?
Oh, my parents had like 4 records in the house, and it was Billy Joel, Glass Houses, 52nd Street, and ABBA, Voulez-Vous,
Oh,
which is a pretty great album cover. It was mainly those ones and like Glass Houses I loved so much. When they would leave, if they leave me at home with my brother or something to be home, we'd put on Glass Houses and crank it, and then dance in the living room and air band. And like watch, because as soon as you saw their car come, then you'd run to the stereo and like turn it down, because my dad was always like, "You're gonna blow the speakers."
so I've heard that you were more of a jock than you were into music when you were in school.
I don't like to talk about it very much.
You don't like to talk about it?
But no, I was into music very, very young. Like I started guitar at 9, and then was playing. So I was always playing. I got into blues at like 12. Like I was big into Stevie Ray Vaughan, and was walking around the neighborhood in like a Stevie Ray Vaughan hat and cowboy boots, because I was a huge fan. So I was big into that. So I was into playing. So I was always into music, but I was also big into sports, and football was like my favorite thing in the world. From 12. 12 was when I first started playing, and it was like, it was everything. For high school, it was like, that's all I cared about was really, I mean, I was playing music, and I shouldn't say it's all I cared about, but it was a big part, was playing football. It was a thing, which I needed. I needed a physical thing to like I needed to run into things with my body. Like, there was a lot, like I needed that.
You have this unbridled energy with your music, and your musical universe is vast. Like it feels like there isn't a style of music that you can't take on and adopt and have fun with.
I had a lot of great teachers that really took a lot of care into what I was learning, and also were always trying to turn me on to new things. I think they could tell I was really into listening to music and would come back and really check things out, and was thirsty for more knowledge. So I got a lot of guitar teachers. One in particular was Marco Ferenc, who also went here at the time, and he would bring me new CDs every week. And he had such a great interest in so many different types of music that he would bring me home, Indian music and dobro players and blues music and tons of jazz and all different avenues of it, and classical music. So it was always something new. So every week, and it was always like explained in this way, which is like, this is the most magical thing in the world. You need to check it out. So that's what I was kind of always, latching onto.
Well, it's nice to hear at a young age you had such an open mind with music.
I was very lucky. Got a lot of great teachers.
And when did you decide that music was going to be your career?
I was like 13.
13.
Yeah.
Wow, that's young.
It was. I just had a guitar lesson, and I was out back smoking a cigarette with my guitar teacher, which shouldn't tell my parents, but that's what I was doing. And I remember he was like, "So are you?" He goes, "If you go on and want to make music in the future," and I was like, in my head, I was like, no, that is exactly what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to go where you went to university. I'm going to learn. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to be a musician. And I was 13. I remember that. So which is, I mean, really lucky if you can figure out and know what you really want to do.
That's the kind of artist I see, such a confident artist. And I had the pleasure to discover you when you were still young and evolving. You were here at CAP, and I can't believe it's 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graduated 23 years ago, yeah.
So you were, it was my first year starting here. The theater had just opened, had been built.
Yeah.
It was an exciting time because it was a brand new facility, and you were performing with Nightcap, the vocal ensemble. You were the guitar player in the rhythm section. And
yeah.
And you made an impression on me. I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Wow.
Definitely, and I think I was really impressed by the level of playing of A-Band and Nightcap. And
my year was really good for musicians, and most of them are still working professionally and like friends still. So it's like, it was a really good year, and that was like Bruno was in that band.
Yeah.
And Paul Rushka was in that band, and Nico Friesen was in that band. But the singers were great too, like Adam Thomas was in there, and Ray Jean was running it. We actually, though, that band got to go to Ottawa. We did a tour of Ottawa. It was the first time I'd been out there for music or anything. And we opened up for Salome Bay at the National Arts Center. So that was like a huge thing for, yeah.
Wow,
for me,
that's
yeah.
quite a graduating class.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And you're still connected with some of your...
Yeah, like, you know, who else was in there? Bernie Arai was in there, Jeremy Holmes.
Wow, it's been such a pleasure to watch everyone's career once they graduate and go off into the world, and it's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
I want to talk about when you started playing the oud. It was really interesting, this Arabic music that you were playing and your dive into world music. And I think my assumption was you must have an Arabic background, perhaps, to have dived into this music. So maybe tell me how you came to discover it and get into it.
When I was here, I was just playing guitar, but I became good friends with Neil and Dylan, and him and Hidayat were in the same class, Hidayat Hanari, and so I met them in the hallway. He was just playing tabla, and I was like, "This is incredible." So, because I'd been into music and been listening to a lot of, but I was pretty jazz focused for a long time, and then me and him started a band with James Dandifer.
Yeah.
And it was called Space and Time Trio, and we did kind of like contemporary music influenced by Indian music and some Arabic music and that. And it was, and Neil played tabla. I was actually really excited. There's a record, Jack DeJohnette record, and it had Michael Caine on it on piano, and him and Steve Gorn. And it was like, I just loved that record. So I really got into that kind of thing, which had a lot of these kind of influences in it. So we started that band, and we were writing music for it a lot. And it was like really like, loved that kind of project. So we did that for a few years, and then I got to know Hidayat too, and then we started playing together. And then I got interested, like really introduced to Persian music through his family, the Hanaris. And then so we had a band we started called Sangha, which was me and Neil and Hidayat, and then his brother Hamin joined the group. It was always like...
I remember Sangha. Well,
yeah.
I hired you guys to play the North Shore Jazz Series during Jazz Festival.
Yeah, that band became like a real project, real band. And that was when I started playing oud, because it was basically right before that band started, I had, like, the internet showed up. And all of a sudden, I could easily find an oud, So I looked online and got one, and then basically started playing it in that band the next day.
You just self-taught yourself.
I did. I self-taught. Yeah, it was self-taught for about a few months. And my main thought was like, I'm going to play. I just want that sound. So I'm going to figure that sound. I'm like, it can't be that hard. I'll figure out.
You attacked it like everything else you attack in life.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's going to be easy. Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't. But I just jumped in and got one. And then basically within a week, Jeremy, my buddy Jeremy, was working at a music store, and a guy came in, and he's like. He gave him his business card because he was getting oud strings, and Jared known that I just started playing oud, and his card said Sirwan Yamulki Oud Virtuoso on it. So he was so he gave it to me, and I called Sirwan the next day and drove out and got lessons with Sirwan. So that's how I started really studying Iraqi music was with him. Sirwan's incredible oud player and poet and singer, a wonderful musician and composer.
Fate was fate working in mysterious ways to bring you and him together.
And then that main thing with that band was like, if I was going to learn a new instrument, it needed to be a band. I needed to have something to do right away. Otherwise, I wouldn't have probably stuck with it or something. So that's how Sangha started, and through that really developed and understood the differences between all those music, between Persian music, Arabic music, and Indian music. And I was trying to get more serious about specifically learning the Arabic tradition because I wanted to honor the instrument and the heritage, and so I've been doing that as best I can. And then I studied with him, and then I studied a bit with Simone Shaheen and Najib Shaheen and everybody at the camp. There's a Arabic retreat just outside Boston, Mount Holyoke College, and actually a big influence through all that was a musician named Brian Prunka, who. I was in New York. I was studying with Gary at the time, and I was in New York, and I was at the Sim camp. Do you know the School of Improvised Music, which is in New York? It's run by Ralph Alessi and Andy Milne.
Yeah.
And so that was there. I was there for, it basically like you get to go to New York and study with all these great people, have lessons with them, and it's a camp for like 3 weeks. And I was there for a week and was met a bunch of new musicians. And we went into, I think it was the West Village, and met some friends of his from New Orleans. And I'm sitting there, and there's a guy, and I'm just standing next to this guy in a car. I'm like, hey, yeah, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I play guitar. I'm like, yeah, I play guitar too. And I said, I also play the oud. And he's like, yeah, I play the oud too. This is incredible.
What are the chances, eh?
And basically, like the next day, I went over to his house at his uncle's place, and he just gave me. He's like he's like an amazing. He's an amazing musician, but he's amazing like researcher and just like deep like discoverer of things, and just jumps in. So he had like so much music for me right away. I got there and he had all this like transcribed music and books and lessons, and I was like, this is incredible. So at that we became really fast friends. Had crazy political arguments with his uncle when he came home, and then he took us out to dinner. It was such a crazy time. The whole family's amazing, and he's a great human being, very helpful and giving with everything. So he really got me introduced to Najib Shaheen and Simone Shaheen and the camp, and a big community, because he's a huge part of the community in Brooklyn in Arabic music, and runs a series of concerts there. And he's a great educator and great musician. So he really helped me get to know the instrument more and dig deeper into learning more about it.
We had Simone Shaheen perform here.
Yeah. I opened for him.
That's right.
Funny anecdote about that concert is that, I knew enough to be scared, but I just...
To be scared?
Just
Why?
dumbly just went and did it because I didn't care. Because, I mean, Simone's like, one of the most incredible oud players in the world. Like, he's he was like 5 and he was incredible on the oud already. Like, he's one of those prodigies that's, amazing. But, so I, going to play oud before him, which is crazy, but I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. So, but we did that. We played the concert, and I was happy. Some people liked it, and I got a few peers, and we were like, felt really good about the band. And as we're walking down the stairs, I don't think he meant it like a diss or anything, but as he's walking up, he's like, "You guys have fun?" I was like, yep.
I remember about Simone, super nice guy, like funny, and just and as you said, brilliant musician.
He's incredibly charismatic.
And like you, he's a maestro on 2 instruments, the violin and the oud, and from Palestine. So maybe tell me a little bit about the different styles of oud playing, Palestinian versus Iraqi versus Persian.
Well, Simone's the first oud player I ever heard. I heard him on a record with Vishnu and Bat, and that's what made me love the instrument. His sound is incredible, and on violin and everything. So, I mean, as much as I know of this, is there's a distinctive Iraqi school. It's not super ornate. It's really driven and clear and defined, and a little bit more influenced normally with even flamenco a little bit. It's kind of more in line with some of that. Sometimes there's more chordal things happening, and it's a very particular, delicate kind of style. Delicate and subtle, I think, is probably what you'd say most about it. Simone's kind of Palestinian thing with Simone is really influenced by, comes out of the Egyptian school of like Frida, or Lebanese, and that, out of the Egyptian radio music, which is a lot of musicians from all of there, but like the Frida Latrache school, which is more, it's like hard hitting, like it's like really like going for it kind of thing. Persian oud playing is like barbat, is what they call it, which isn't really, it's based off tar playing. So it's a lot like, it sounds like a tar player playing on the oud, because the tar is like the basis of Persian music. So all the techniques, the things that's really precise, like the tar is, so that's like a totally different style on its own. And then there's sort of like the Sudanese style of oud playing, which is more African and more, well, obviously African, but like more pentatonic kind of sounding, and that, and more like accompanying for singing, and less kind of driven towards virtuosic.
Are you influenced by one more than the other?
I kind of kind of put them all kind of together. I would try to be really specific and really sound like Farida Latroche, and then try and sound Iraqi for different pieces and stuff, and then kind of studied as much as I could, and then kind of gave up trying and kind of just started doing what happens. And that's kind of, now I think it's kind of like a combination. It's neither of those things, and it's also influenced by everything else that I'm interested in.
Is that finding your voice on the
Yeah,
flute? Is that,
yeah. I feel like that's really the process that's happened now.